All right, so 1 second while I share my screen. All right. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining the call today for your LinkedIn Tuesdays. Today we're going to be talking about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting and strategies that get you results. So first off, this event will be recorded, and the recording may be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Comments in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. So in the Zoom, you can please use the chat box to enter your question. If you're comfortable, you can go ahead and turn on your microphone and we can ask Locke questions as we go throughout the presentation. And wanted to give you a little bit of a background first on LinkedIn Tuesdays and how it came to be. So Jeff Morris, he founded Career DFW in 2008 because he saw a big need for that in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He then started careerusa.org in 2012. And from that, he also wrote the book about your job search. He also leads the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group since 2007. And he's a member of the PIT Crew since 2017. And that's dallaspitcrew.com if you want to get more information. The PIT stands for Practice Interview Team. And I'll give you some more details about that. With that, every Tuesday, I have one of these four esteemed presenters on the call with me who are LinkedIn experts. We have Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, and Kurt Vandemotter. And today we'll have Locke with us. Locke will talk to us about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting strategies that get results. And before I turn it over to him, I'm going to go through a couple more slides. First off, we want to talk about the LinkedIn promise. And this is where you promise to always send a personal note whenever you send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. And this includes when you use your cell phone or your computer. So you want to use the blue connect button when you're on your laptop. When you're on your cell phone is actually reversed. That's where you do want to use the white connect button. And when we look at our schedule for the week, we have today, LinkedIn Tuesday, Wednesdays, we have the interviewing team, and then on Fridays, we have the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. And so Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central is that practice interview team. And on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month, it is in person at Christ United Methodist Church in Plano, Texas. And on the fourth Wednesday of the month, it is on Zoom, so you can watch remotely. And then on Friday, it's at 9:30 a.m. Central Time in North Dallas, Plano. We have the Career Focus Group. And this week, the guest is Paula Calise, who will be talking about the art of hello. And some other tools for you. We have our careerdfw.org and careerusa.org that you can find and join these LinkedIn groups. And then on YouTube, you can go to careerusa.org and you can look at playlists and you can see all the previously recorded sessions so that you can view them at your leisure as well. And then within that, this gives you a little bit of a glimpse of just how you can sort through the different videos and see what's available. And if you would like to receive emails.
Patty, we might add that Terry Sullivan only does his live. He does not allow his to be recorded.
That's correct. Yes. So Terry's won't be available on there, but others will be available there. If you aren't receiving emails about the workshop, you can join the Career USA mailing list. You can scan the QR code, or you can send an email to the email address listed below. And so please note that this is Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. We survive on donations. So please consider making a donation when you get your next job. And if your new company makes matching donations, we are registered. And if you do not see us listed, let us know who they use. And so with that, I will turn it over to Locke, who will then start presenting.
If
And
we
please
went to
also
slide,
enter information in the chat as well.
you have to get this down. Thank you, Patty. We seem to have worked through the difficulties today. There's my bio up there. What Patty said, I've spent 42 years in recruiting and HR with corporations, had my own recruiting firm for 12 years of that. And since 2001, I've also been active in career consulting, helping those in job and career transition to find a position through my own business and through Lee Heck Harrison and through a company called Mullen International, which was purchased by Lee Heck Harrison. So that's kind of what we want to talk about today. Again, one of the things that we can talk about in my situation, come on, it's not working, so. One of the things about me and job searching, and I've been a job hunter at least 5 times when I've been laid off from other companies. I got fired once. I also had the times when contracts came to an end and I was looking for another job. So one of the things that was reassuring to me was going to scripture. This is the verse from the Old Testament in Jeremiah. For I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So those are the kind of things that helped me when I was in job hunting, but still help me on a daily basis today. I want to take a look at LinkedIn and ask you the question, why are you using LinkedIn? Maybe it's because somebody suggested it to you. Maybe it's because you're trying to reach a particular company, but it's a very powerful tool. It's probably the number 1 tool in recruiters' toolboxes today. Actually, there are about a billion people on LinkedIn today, and 180 million of them are in the United States. So at any given point in time, a number of recruiters, it's estimated that over a million recruiters are on LinkedIn every day. So that's a way to reach out. And guess what? They post jobs all the time too. So some of the times there are companies that cost money to post jobs on LinkedIn, like it does on any job board. But some of the times you could do LinkedIn. There is now something new that LinkedIn's doing. Is somebody has a banner like it used to be the open to work, and now so-and-so is now hiring. So that's a way for them to list a specific job that they're working on, their hot job, if you will. Well, let's take a look at LinkedIn in general. This is kind of what we're going to cover today. If you ask for the slide deck, there's some additional material about how to network into companies, which is very beneficial. But today, your profile, why is it so important? And why is open to work important to you? Your dashboard and what that means in your about sections. Your about section used to be called the summary. You want to have your professional work history, that's your employment experience, and then your skills and endorsements. And skills are important because recruiters actually do search on skills and job titles. And how do you go about optimizing your profile? If you're not being found on LinkedIn when you go search for yourself, if you want us to do that, put in your title of the job that you are and the work and the location that you're in and do a search. May come up with 10,000 or 40,000 different people. If you're not showing up in the first 10 screens, that's 10 snapshots per screen, you're probably not going to be found when recruiters do a search. So again, pop open some of those things, some of those profiles, and see what those people have in them. We'll talk a little bit more about that's part of optimizing your profile. And how do recruiters actually go about doing a search? And how do you go about searching? What are some tips for that? And then some things that you can do about your profile, some homework. So what are you doing to attract recruiters and hiring managers' attention? You've got to have something that's a grabber, because first impressions are vitally important. As in sales, and when you're looking for a job, you're in sales, you're selling your own services to a company. And one of the things that all starts with your profile. And your profile is the first impression that employers, hiring managers, recruiters have of you. So what's there is vitally important. It usually gets like resumes, 6 to 10 seconds is the average that people will look at that. And if they don't see what they're looking for in any of those sections, like in your headline, if they don't see what you're looking for right there, they may move on. If you've got your open to work open, that gives you a chance to give a few more job titles and some more information about you. So that's what people want to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about is your profile pass a freshness guarantee. Somebody shared in a presentation that I saw back earlier this year about a freshness guarantee. What do I mean by that? Well, think about how long it's been since you updated or edited your profile. Time value is important. Your activity and responses to messages all count toward the activity on it. But when you look at produce at the grocery store, you look to see whether it's fresh. Whether it's milk, you look at the freshness date, or meat, you look at a date there, or tomatoes, you squeeze the tomato to see if it's too soft. Likewise, avocados. And if they're too soft, you pass those on. So what you want to do is have a freshness guarantee by going in and doing something on your profile at least once a week. Okay, getting back to your profile, what do you see in my profile? Here I've got the open to work banner open. It allows all of LinkedIn to see this work down here information. The other setting for open to work is limiting it to recruiters. And if you're in a stealth job search mode, you may want to just limit it to recruiters. But that gives 5 additional job titles that you can list. It gives the kind of work that you're open to, whether it's hybrid, on-site, or remote. It also tells location that you want to do. So if you're open to relocation somewhere, that's definitely where you want to put where you're looking for.
For Locke, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So when it says, if you're on a stealth job search, if you already have a job and it says
Right.
open to recruiters, that's only for people who have the LinkedIn recruiter tool. Is that correct? That's not open to every recruiter.
You purchase the recruiter license, and LinkedIn sells 2 recruiter licenses. I was going to get to that later, but let's do it now. The major one that Kurt Vandemotter uses, he pays $10,000 for each license that he uses. He and Paula Calise that you mentioned are partners in a firm called Linked Executive Search. And he uses it for executive search. He can look at all 1 billion people on LinkedIn, and he can narrow that down with the tools that are available. I'll show you how to, he does that later to about 70 people in 30 seconds. So another person that I work with on another group, she just has Recruiter Lite, and she only pays $5,000 a year for that, but it's limited to LinkedIn in the United States. So those are 2 tools that they use. Most recruiters, when I was a recruiter, I didn't pay to use LinkedIn, one of those tools. So it was easy, and want to make it easy for recruiters to find you. And there's some ways that you want to do that. So and it's a powerful tool for job searching as well. But let's take a look at the things that you can do to improve on your profile. These are just some of the things that are available. If you complete each section, you get a top rating on All-Star. And they used to have a pie chart that showed how close you could get to 100%. I never got to 100%. I was All-Star, but only at about 98%. You want to have a professional headshot there. It doesn't have to be one that a photographer takes. You can take a selfie if you want, but make sure that you've got a good background there and no glares, and that your hair is, that you're suitable for presentation. Headline should be the job title that you're applying for. It can be multiple titles. Your open to work is under your headline, gives additional views there. Your contact information is vitally important that you have your contact information in the first line of your about section, because if I'm not directly linked to you and you've got your contact information at the bottom of your about section, I won't find it. I won't be able to get a hold of you. It's very frustrating for recruiters, hiring managers to find a good candidate they want to talk to. There's no way to get in touch with them. So that's something to remember when you're doing that. Another thing in your experience section, if you have an unusual job title, and I've worked for companies that use some of those, like Member of Technical Staff 3, that's not something I ever researched. As a recruiter, I ever searched for. I recruited for design engineers or systems engineers. And so if that's the case, put in paren what the actual job title is in the job marketplace. Okay. Your skills from your profession, you want to have some of those listed. If you don't want to know what some of those are, take a look at some of the job profiles that you're looking at and take a look at the requirements down here. Those are some of the requirements and skills that they're looking for. Okay, endorsements are good. Likewise, if you have your education, a lot of profiles that I look at over the years, they simply stop when somebody got their degree. They don't keep up with what their awards were, what certifications they received, any courses since then, professional development like this one. Okay, and recommendations are like letters of reference. You want to have those, you want to try and get a couple of those for each job that you've had, more particularly for the job that you've had recently. So that's kind of an overview of the things that are important. Having said that, is your headline a grabber? Does it grab somebody's attention? Does it say who you are? Does it identify what you want to do? That having been said, let's take a look at some headlines. Unemployed and retired are honest statements, but they probably are not in the most positive light to present yourself. Okay. Seeking new opportunity, again, a little stronger, but it doesn't tell what you're looking for. Formerly VP of Finance, again, the slight negative of former VP. Again, it's the case. Experienced digital design engineer seeking a new opportunity. Again, that's more clarification for somebody that's looking. But again, there are a lot of digital design engineers out there if you look on LinkedIn. Social media strategist and content manager, seeking new opportunity, print and digital media, PR, public relations, marketing, and corporate communications. That pipe character that you see in there is a character above your enter key on your keyboards. If you use that to separate things like that, be sure and use a space on either side, because if opportunity, pipe character, print are all linked together, it's not a searchable term. They won't find you when they go to look for somebody with print media experience. Supply chain procurement and purchasing, pretty succinct. It might get somebody, might get a recruiter's attention because it's not as big a field as, say, digital design engineering. But again, you can amplify that, and we'll show you how to do that in a minute. Senior accountant, GL, that's an abbreviation. Some abbreviations you don't need to spell out because they're well known and well accepted, like accounts receivable, accounts payable, ARAC. But he's put in cost accounting as well. Executive assistant, when I do a search in Dallas for that, Dallas-Fort Worth area, there are about 40,000 executive assistants on LinkedIn. Again, by adding event planning and budgeting, it clarifies some of the duties that that person has had. And likewise, IT project manager, ITIL, Scrum, and Agile, those are key buzzwords that IT recruiters look for. So that one is a pretty good one in and of itself. And general manager, manufacturing, aerospace, that's a pretty narrow discipline. Again, there are probably maybe 2 dozen aerospace companies. So somebody in that area, those are pretty specific about what he's done. Something that LinkedIn has allowed you to do now, you have 220 characters in your title that you can play with. You can add adjectives to that, and you can see that if you request this slide deck. You can use some of those, and I'll show you what those are. Take a look at my old slide, my headline that's there, and then take a look at the new one that I've got by adding adjectives. Highly skilled technical and professional recruiter. Sought after speaker, workshops, and seminars. If you use that headline share through, you can go to that link and test your headlines and see how they do. The first time I did it, my rating was a 55. It jumped to 75 by adding those adjectives in there. And just because of that, there are about 30,000 people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with recruiter in their profile. So it helps to get that notification in there. Here's some more descriptive headlines: increasing productivity, creating value, specializing in expansion, okay, helping businesses become more customer-centric, adding additional words. An IT project manager able to communicate with high-tech customers, or to explain the gap between, to bridge the gap between techies and business management. Having worked in that field, the business analysts were the ones that were able to meet with the customer and go back to the technical people to translate that to the techies' terms. An AWS, I should take that out. There's one too many W's in AWS down there. That's Amazon Web Services, so I need to correct that. I just noticed that. The other thing about open to work, well, I use it. Well, again, you can see my open to work there, and it gives some additional details on where I'm open to look. But these are the things you could do with open to work. You can choose different things. Notice I started to use career. There's career consultant, career advisor, career specialist, career coach. I could use any career counselor. The different workplaces that you can work, on-site, hybrid, and remote. And I look, Plano, Texas which is where I live, which is just north of Dallas. But if I were looking to locate to New York City or to Los Angeles or San Francisco, you could add those as well. The plus sign is, again, if you check on those, it will allow you, if you start to type something into that box and it is not one that LinkedIn recognizes, you won't be able to do that. It also allows you to tell the recruiter what's your status. And you're available immediately looking, or open to new opportunities. And then the open to this, in this case, open to recruiters are all LinkedIn. You have a choice there, whether it's to just recruiters or all LinkedIn. Well, that's something that you can do to clarify who you are and what you want to do. Another thing that you want to take a look at is looking on your analytics page on your homepage. The analytics page used to be called your dashboard. And some of the things that are interesting, 255 times in the last 7 days when I did this slide, came up on somebody's profile, okay, when they did a search. They looked at my profile 101 times and appeared actually in 60 search appearances. And that's what you're wanting to do, is appear in the search appearances. And how many people are following me? That's how many people follow me. I'm amazed sometimes that happens, but that's what it is. And it gives you some other information that you can find out about yourself. And by looking at the people that are following you, there might be some job opportunities there. Another thing that you can do on your featured section, you can list some displays of some of your work. Your resume, you can post your resume there. There are some of the presentations I've done, like what recruiters look for resumes. That's an old presentation I've updated on my current slide to this presentation today. And what recruiters look for in resumes, avoiding the resume black hole, and rekindling your job fair. I have 7 different presentations on there, but you can list that. My son, who's a motion graphics designer, has got his reel, which is a sample of the different projects that he worked on there. So those are some of the things you can do with your featured section. Let's talk about your summary section. What is it? Your about section. This is a pretty good one. And you can see that email address is there on the top line. That's vitally important for people to be able to get in touch with you. I lost it again. My touch screen is too important.
It says you're on slide 20.
And we have other sample headlines. Oh, here it is. There we go. Notice this one has highlighted some words to stand out. This person is a financial planning and analysis. You see it there at the bottom. Accounting and finance recruiters understand what that is, but if it's just a general recruiter, they may not understand that. So when you use acronyms like that, it's good to spell it out the first time that you use it, because if you use AMA in your profile, there are only 20 different AMAs if you look in the older versions of Webster's dictionary in the back. So spell those out. But this is a little bit longer than I recommend for your profile and your about section. Usually it's good to limit that to 4 or 5 lines and then have a break in the line so that people will read through. But this individual has used bold to highlight certain things, that they've been involved in mergers and acquisitions, divestitures, and had received an Intuit's Financial Recognition Award. Here are some other summaries. Again, LinkedIn allows you to use first person, not recommended for resumes. But again, this is a good summary. The second one, the first one there, I'm grateful partner. We're working with many award-winning companies in executive coaching and leadership development. Key competencies, they mentioned some there. They mentioned their experience. I'm a strategic, creative, hands-on marketer. Passion. Again, if you use those kind of words in resumes without further amplification, they're generally regarded as fluff and may get you discarded in your resume in that pile. Let's take a look at your experience section. I've just used one from my profile. You want to have your job title, the company dates and names and dates. If the company is not well known, you may want to use a one-line tag to explain what the company is. In this case, Oracle is a pretty well-known software company. And you list your duties and responsibilities. Again, limit the duties and responsibilities to 3 to 5 lines. Again, more than that, and it can be not read. Okay. The next thing that you want to do is some accomplishments. Here are 2 that I mentioned there. When I was with Oracle Corporation, was selected as recruiter of the quarter and selected from among 50 recruiters to attend the annual COOL conference in Bermuda, which was a nice vacation for me and my wife. The other thing I've included here, the next one is a farewell address. This was an email from the senior director of recruiting for Oracle when I retired from Oracle in 2010. Those kind of things are invaluable. It's kind of like a letter of reference or a recommendation that is there. It's easy for them to understand that. Other things that you can do to add to your profile if you are not working, one that is essential that you add is add a position including one where you're out of work and job hunting. We'll show you what one of those looks like in a minute. The other one that's on the next column is add projects if you have that. If you have patents or publications, you can add that. Well, let's take a look at adding a position. This particular one, adding a current position, you want to add in the title what you're looking for. Software application developer. You're looking type of employment full-time. You're seeking an opportunity in the financial service industry, or it could be telecommunications or computer services. Again, when you start to type in location, you notice down there it has United States. I started to type on DA, and that's Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Dallas County, or Dallas. There's also a Dallas, Georgia, and a Dallas, Oregon. You have to be careful to spell those out when you're doing that. We're adding a current position. You can also add a position for a profile for projects that you may have been worked on. I just chose one for me as a project manager when I was the program director for Staffing Management Association here in Dallas for several years, locating and identifying speakers for their monthly meetings. So that's something that you could do in more detail. A lot of resumes that I used to get when I was with Oracle would show people in IT, and a lot of people worked on projects there. So they really usually have a page for every project that they worked on. This is a way to include that in your profile. Skills and endorsements are vitally important. LinkedIn allows you to understand it's now gone to 100 skills that you can list. Again,
Yep.
LinkedIn will choose, and I need to change this slide. It's something I didn't catch. LinkedIn allows you to choose 3 of those, or they will choose 3 for you. And it may be down to 2 because there's other things that you can add to it. As you see, there are ones that you could just check on at the bottom here, or you can start to type in one here. If you type in one that LinkedIn doesn't have in its lexicon, again, it won't allow you to add that one. But again, that's a way that you can add those in. Then you can do that. When you get that, you can see 3 off of my profile. When you do that, there's 3 dots up there at the top. Those may not be the 3 that I want to show as the first thing that people see. So if you go to those 3 dots and click on it, it allows you to reorder your skills and endorsements by coming over here to the 4 lines at the right. You can hold your cursor down and drag and drop those down. So you see the ones that are there. So if you're applying for something in a particular field, like human resources, that would probably be one of the ones I would move up to the top. Even though human resources is a part, recruiting is a part of human resources. I've filled a lot of the different roles in human resources. So that's something that you can do with that way as well. Okay. Let's take another look, looking at yourself. And why would you want to look at other people? I'm looking at recruiter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. As I said, there are about 26,000 when I did this slide in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I used to be, when I was in active recruiting, I would appear on the first 2 pages. That's about the first 20 people. Again, not everybody who is on there is actively looking for a job. This is a networking tool as well as a job hunting tool. So remember that. But you could do that, and you can look at somebody and you can say, do your own search for yourself, looking at where you're an accountant or whether you're in Dallas or in Plano, Texas. And again, if you use a particular city, the general description is it limits that to a 25-mile radius from the city where you've chosen. Okay. Dallas County is open. Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is obviously Dallas and Fort Worth. So by opening it up, you can choose and take a look at that. If you're not showing up when you do a search, you might want to pop open somebody's profile like this one and take a look at what's in their profile. They've got the open to work on, and you notice some of the word, in addition to recruiter, she's the word talent acquisition specialist several times because that's the latest term that's used for recruiting. Okay. And she's given an about section. She is not used. She's most staffing, which is another word for recruiting that is available there. And there's all different types of recruiting as well. Let's move on. Take a look at job hunting. I want to take a look at searches on LinkedIn. Well, how does LinkedIn actually run a search? How do recruiters search? And then some recruiter search results, and then how do you go about searching for a job? Okay. The first thing that we want to take a look at is for each section of your profile on LinkedIn, you get a score. And if there's nothing there, you don't get a score, obviously, or a value. The higher scores appear at the top of the list of the results for that category when those terms are used. Okay. Recruiters generally looking for a match, and they're looking for a match in job titles, and those can appear in your current job, your past jobs, and your headline, your open to work, your about, and your employment section. It gives you a lot of places that you can have job titles. And the more that you have, the better the chances are that you'll be found for that one when a search is conducted. I give the example when I was with Oracle Corporation, they just purchased Siebel, where I'd work. They were looking for a Siebel consultant in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I ran a search up there, a posting, and I got 75 responses. It was a pretty good response rate, not too many and not too little. Looking for that Siebel consultant. 50 of those did not even have the word Siebel in their profile. They were in the reject pile. And the reason because they didn't mention one of my keywords. Again, that keyword was Siebel. Then looking at the other 25, which of them had Siebel once, which of them had Siebel 25 times or 10 times. Those that had it more frequently were typically the people that I was looking for, people who had actually installed the Siebel product. Again, that's some of the thinking and how recruiters do searches. Keywords and skills, as I mentioned, are vital. Industries and specific companies. Healthcare industry is notorious for looking for people with healthcare experience. Some other companies are that way as well. I know when I worked for the telephone company one summer, they can make anybody a manager, except in perhaps engineering. But that's a way that companies do that. Well, they may be looking for a specific company. Again, one of the slide results will show you that somebody was looking for somebody in a particular industry in a particular location. Location, education. There was a search here in Dallas when I applied for it, just out of curiosity, actually interviewed for it. They were looking for a graduate of a top 10 business school in the United States with an MBA. Again, that's pretty specific in what they were looking for. And since I have my MBA from University of California, Berkeley, depending upon whose list that you're looking for, Berkeley usually ranks in the top 10. Geographic location. Again, most jobs are usually within 20 to 25 miles of where the job is located. That's the radius that recruiters look for, and they do that because you as an applicant have said, I don't want to drive more than 20 to 25 miles to work. So recruiters limit their search to that geographic location. And if you notice when you go to job boards, there is that limiting capability on the board. And that's how recruiters do it as well. They identify that by your zip code or by what you've indicated in the open to work section. Current and prior companies and length of service. Recruiters do tend to look at your pedigree, who you've worked for and how long you stayed. It isn't quite as bad to be a job hunter today as it used to be, but I know in my first 10 years of my career, I had 8 different jobs. And that's a lot of companies. They really consider me a job hopper. So that's something that's an obstacle that you sometimes have to overcome. The last thing that recruiters then take a more careful look at your summary and your experience. So let's take a look. I mentioned Kurt Vandemotter. This was an early slide from one of his presentations, and this is from the recruiter software license. At that time, there were 710 million people on LinkedIn that he could look at. And again, he had 3 slides like this that he could check boxes and identify people and narrow it down to about 70 people within 30 seconds. I'm letting the computer do the work. You can notice what some of those are. So let's take a look then at a search. This particular search was for a product manager, and they were looking in the greater Seattle area. They're considering somebody from down in the San Francisco Bay Area as well. Product management and product marketing tend to overlap depending upon how companies organize those jobs. So we're looking at that, but also looking at somebody who's done competitive analysis from a marketing standpoint. And companies that we're looking at, 3 of those that are listed, Microsoft, Amazon, and Fluke, are all headquartered in the Seattle area. The schools, University of Washington is also there. This particular search drew about 6,900 candidates they could look at. 2,500 of those have actually following the company that he might be working with, okay? And 462 were following the brand. So that's a way to narrow it down. Candidates that are interested in your company, again, you're gonna look at people that are qualified for that area. But 6,900 is still a pretty broad search to look at. Here's another search. This one was for a project manager in Chicago, but they consider, again, somebody from San Francisco or New York. They wanted somebody who had done some business strategy and some analytics. A little bit unusual for a project manager. The other categories that they were looking at are market entry, analysis, corporate development, one of those things. This search only identified 43,000 people, but only 83 of those were open to new opportunity, open to work. So again, recruiters tend to look at the low-hanging fruit, but they're probably the first ones that they would take a look at to find somebody they might be looking at. The other thing, Northwestern University is just north of Chicago. But the other companies, there's some pedigree companies like Google, Facebook. Again, that's showing its age. Evernote and LinkedIn are companies that they're looking for. They're looking for somebody with a high-tech background in that. Again, when you're looking for a job, you have 2 searches. You can go to the basic search. The toolbar right up here has an opening for where you can use in general, or you can click on the jobs tab and it will open up and give you two choices. You can search for jobs and location. You can enter a job title or a company there, and location. If you don't enter a location, it's going to default to the United States here in the US. Okay, so let's take a look at a search for a sales rep again, because they didn't identify where, just United States. It came up with 197,000 candidates. Far too many for any recruiter to take a look at. Okay. But their thumbnail sketches of recruiters are over here in terms of that. Or the job is thumbnail sketch of it over there. If we do a more refined search, again, senior accountant, notice that 25 miles. You can narrow that down on LinkedIn. LinkedIn used to allow you to do 15. Now they've dropped it to 10 and 5 or up to 50 or above that. Okay, so that's one of the things. So a senior accountant within 25 miles of Plano, Texas, which is just north of Dallas, identified 144 jobs. And again, the first one right here, if you click on that, it's over in this section right here. If you click on this one down here, a senior accountant with Uvalde Law Firm, again, it will appear there. So that's how you go out doing that. Next thing that you could do is I want to talk about filters. Again, the first filter that I recommend for everybody, unless you have a very unique skill set, I would narrow your search down to the last week. As you can see, if I were looking for a recruiter in the Dallas County, in the last week, there were 635 openings. Okay. So again, if recruiters have failed to take down their search, there may be 2,000 that are still available. One of the things that LinkedIn adopted from Indeed.com was the salary parameters. Again, the salary parameters are not 100% accurate. Sometimes the job posting, and that's required in some states like New York, Massachusetts, and California today, that they include the salary in it. You can select that for that. So you can narrow out and winnow out those jobs that pay less than 100,000, let's say. So that's a past week is one that I definitely recommend that you do on all searches, unless, as I say, it's a job title that's more unusual. I had a health and safety environmental engineer in Arkansas, and we looked for the last month in a 4-state region rather than the 25-mile. You can also search by industry. You can search by Easy Apply. And one thing I want to talk about Easy Apply, if you use Easy Apply, you want to make sure that it allows you to upload your resume, because if you don't, it will take your profile. And your profile is a snapshot. It may not directly apply to the job. So by allowing you to apply your resume, you can tailor your resume to the job a little bit so that you might get a little bit higher consideration. And again, number of different jobs over here on LinkedIn. Most jobs on most job boards are permanent full-time positions, but there are in the recruiting field and in IT, there are a lot of contract positions. There are a few part-time. There are some internship positions. I know my granddaughter is at Baylor as a sophomore, and she's got an internship here in Dallas between her sophomore and junior year. At SMU, they're in their MBA program. All of their MBA candidates will have an internship there that they will have as part of their requirements for graduation. So that's something that you can do. Internships are also used by foreign students between semesters at college. And internships can be used after they've gotten their degree. They have 3 6-month internships until they can qualify for a green card. If they don't, they probably have to return to their home country. But that's just so it's available to you. There's also underneath this clear button or a reset. I can't remember if they relabeled that. Will take you, if you hit that, you can go back to your original search parameters of a recruiter in Dallas, Texas.
Locke, can you address the Easy Apply again?
Sure.
From what I understand, the Easy Apply is that the company has paid, haven't they paid LinkedIn some money to have it Easy Apply there?
Funnel. LinkedIn earns its money not just by the recruiter licenses, but by the jobs that are posted and other things. You may have noticed on one of the jobs that it was favored or promoted. Again, those are jobs that LinkedIn has said. It's not all jobs, but like a lot of the job boards, they sweep other job boards. They scrape jobs from the others as well. So, and then other things that you can look for on the fishers, you can look in your network for jobs. That's another way to look. Another thing that brought up, and I just noticed that going through this slide deck earlier this morning, is if you've been with your company for say 8 to 10, maybe 12 months, and you're looking for a job, and you like the company and like the location, you might look at the company's job board and see what else is available. Because companies like to find internal candidates if at all possible. Okay, let's move on. This is for a quality assurance individual in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I did this search when I was doing a presentation of the American Society for Quality Engineers here in the Dallas area a couple of years ago. And just to show them, by using quality assurance, in this case, we came up with 1,900 candidates. But it includes everything from the basic quality inspector all the way up through a quality director. So that was probably too broad a search. So in this case, we suggested adding another word like manager, because all the managers are going to be in the basic quality assurance section, but the inspectors are going to drop out when you limit it to manager. And by doing that, we dropped it down by almost 90% in terms of that. And again, by looking at that, some of these jobs are, this was 17 hours ago. If we looked at some of these others, they may be months ago. So that's why they're doing. You can also use the filter by experience level if you're looking for a junior position, or you're looking for a junior managers generally don't show up. Those are not synchronous terms that you can use. You can do it by that as well. Let's move on and take another look at this one was for an executive assistant here in the Dallas area. I mentioned that was on the original screen of the headlines. In this case, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there were 960 results. I hadn't checked the date posted. And as I started to fill in Dallas, again, it gives that drop down a little bit of artificial intelligence. Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Dallas, Texas, Dallas County, Dallas, Georgia, and I guess there's also a Dallas, Oregon. So again, be more specific on those if possible. Okay. Again, one of the things that LinkedIn does, like a lot of the job boards, allows you to create job alerts. So that once you've found a job, you've used the terms, and it's got the results that you want in the field that you're looking for, you can create a job alert. So by going to the radio button here and clicking it, you have the option to choose daily or weekly. The difference being you get a daily Monday through Friday and come in before 8 o'clock in the morning usually. I still get a few because I have done searches for helping people look for jobs for that. And then the results down there at the bottom show again that the button is on. And you, by getting them weekly, you're not going to be flooded with jobs if it's a big one like that. Okay. Wrapping up, and before we get to taking a look at some other people's resumes, complete all the sections of your profile. It helps with your ranking, and use the name that you normally use. Make it easy for that recruiter to call you by name. My legal name is John Locke Alderson Jr., and I occasionally will get called for John Alderson. And so I'll ask the question, which John do you want to speak with? And they'll say, well, John Sr. And I say, well, unfortunately, he passed away about 20 years ago. So they said, then that they kind of stumble through what they want to talk about next. So use that regularly. Again, one of the things I mentioned about the freshness guarantee, refresh your resume at least, your profile at least once a week. You can go in and just make minor changes and save it, and that will take care of that. The headline, you want to list the job title or titles that you're looking for. Okay, not including the headline, a title there defaults to your last job title, and that may not be the job that you're looking for. Do complete the open to work section, and if you're not in a stealth mode, it allows you to add five job titles and location and the type of work that you're open to, because some of the people with COVID-19 are still interested in working remote. And I know when I was at Oracle Corporation, even though I had an office at Oracle, they offered me an office. I went over to Oracle about six times in 4 years that I was working from home. Do list your phone number and your email address on the first line of your about section. I don't know how many times I look at people's profiles and I have no way, even first degree connections, and I have no way of getting in touch with them because they haven't opened up their contact information in their security settings. So that make it easy to do that. The experience section, list the job titles that you're looking for, and also include, if you can, some measurable results, the accomplishments that you have. They're the differentiator between you and somebody else, and they add credibility to your experience. Do use the keywords and experience from your profession, okay? And choose the top 3 skills that you're seeking. And again, those can change over time. That may be the simple change that you do once a week, is to reorder some of those. And do a people search in your geographic area. And if you don't show up in the first 10 screens, as I said, that's 10 thumbnail sketches per screen, that's 100 people. And go in and take a look at some of the descriptive words they're using, and if they apply to you, include them in your profile. Okay, lockealderson@gmail.com is my email address. If you're interested, I'll be happy to send you the slide deck, and we'll see if we can switch screens. And I'll go back. Okay. Okay, this is my actual live screen. What we can do now is we can take a look at some people's profiles, or we can take a look at some jobs for some of the people that are online with us. So do we have some volunteers?
All right, who would like to volunteer? If you would like Locke to look at your profile or a job that you're looking for with a title.
And one thing I'll mention, this is that search box for searching for job by going to jobs. It opens up city and state, but again, it gives me the preferences on this. I'm looking at people as well. So, and notice this could allow, this allowed recruiters now to say, I'm hiring, and to list a specific job. Do we have anybody yet?
Anyone? Should I call on somebody?
Let's call on Patty.
Well, you shouldn't call on the hostess here. I'd be under Patricia.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Sorry, who is that? Miranda? You can do
Yep.
Miranda Wilgus.
We're looking at you, Miranda, or you were looking at?
Miranda.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Come on. Okay.
There's only one. It's Miranda.
Yeah.
The last name is Wilgus, Wilgus.
Okay, this is where you can follow people. That's one way that you can do it on people. Miranda, we're going to look at you up in the Highland Park, Illinois, north of Chicago. She's got the open to work banner. Let's do one thing first because we're second degree connections. And I can follow her, but I may not, but I'm going to do this. I'll check her contact information. I've got a pop-up somewhere in my thing, but I have no way of getting hold of Miranda if I wanted to, because her contact information is not, well, okay, she's not open, and that's a security setting. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to go down to her about section and see more. Again, this is what recruiters see. That's not in the, her email address is right there at the first of her email. You know, let's connect is what's on mine. So I have a way to get hold of her in terms of that. Okay. She's done a good job in her about section of breaking that up to three to 5 lines is what you want to have in there. You can list some of your accomplishments, use bullets and things like that. She's given some speeches and talks. Okay.
Wow, that's really zoomed in.
Well, my touch screen is particularly sensitive, so her about, her activity section, and then her experience, okay? She's been doing with ACA Consultant, Consumer Advocacy Center, okay? And she's listed some of her skills that she's had when you could, that's one thing with the skills section now, you can choose and take tests, or you can show per job where you've used the particular skills. She's used those Adobe skills in her current position and as a teacher. Political affairs, she's used that. She's pretty proficient at what is peer and Adobe's Creative Suite, okay, and 34 other skills. Okay. She did her education at Hebrew University. It would appear just from looking at it that she does not have a degree, which is okay. Again, by saying that, and the projects that she's worked on, she's used the project section and amplified that. She's got her skills, whether advocacy campaigns and attention to detail. I don't know whether attention to detail would be one that I would use, Miranda. I might choose something else from your list of other 87s, but you have 87 different skills.
I think I added that for when I was applying for. It was like, you're missing these skills. So I threw it in.
One of the things that you could do by going in and freshening your profile, it gives credibility because freshening it is one of those factors that LinkedIn looks at in their algorithm. Okay? Well, you notice the other things that you can choose, and by going to on your screen, you will have the 3 dots up in here. You click on that, it will reorder your skills, and you can drag them out.
I was actually trying to alphabetize them because I was told to have like the key ones on top and then alphabetize all the extras.
I would choose the 3 that are most specific to the
important to
job
your
that you're
job.
applying for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the ones that are going to be at the top. Because remember, when people look at a resume, what did I say about looking at resume and profiles?
5 to 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 to 10.
So they may
You know
not
what?
look
I
good.
had it. I actually had my top ones there and then I was messing with it. And so I screwed it up.
Well, again, go into those 3 dots. Click on the
Mhm.
pencil that'll be up here in your screen. Okay, and when you click on the pencil, it'll have 3 dots, and you click on the 3 dots and then reorder your skills. And you can drag and drop on that. Okay.
Yep.
Pretty good looking profile. Some good experience there. I would, as I say, I would probably move some of these others up to the top.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back in and redo that because I did have graphic design and communications at the top before I started playing with it.
Those are pretty important ones that are there. Okay.
Yep. I have another volunteer
Okay.
if you're done looking at
Sure.
Miranda's. Okay,
Thank you.
Dan, and then the last name is Grace, Grace.
Stan, S-T-A-N?
No, D as in David, A as in Apple, N as in Nancy. The last name is Grace, Grace.
Okay, Dan, there are a bunch of you.
Not the London one.
It's the top one.
It was the top one you had before
All
on
right.
your list. Click the back button. The top one, the second customer success manager
This one?
in the Dallas-Fort
Yes.
Worth Metroplex.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the first shot that people have. He's got the open connect button. And this is what happens. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to do anything, but I'm just going to do a send. But again, what Patty said is, do you want to have a note there? But because I've done that, okay. So let's take it. Now it shows pending on mine. Okay. Let's take it. He's got a good background shot, and I know Jeff Morris and his banner shot in the back has got his actual contact information as well. Since we're still second degree connections, for some reason this pop-up still applies.
They really want your business, Locke.
Okay, he's got an email address where I can get hold of it, which is good. Okay, so then that's good. We have some common connections. I know Rex. I've known Rex for almost 20 years now, over 20 years. He's got his
I'm
open
connected to Dan, so I should be one of the 23 mutual connections.
This is when we look at Dan's background. The locations is on site. Remote location is Metroplex. He's active and apply looking immediately. Okay. So that's a good thing on his for his open to work section. Okay. But for those people who are not directly connected, what did I say about that? He's got some keywords or success things down at the bottom. And that's basically for the computer to sort through. That's not necessarily something for that, but he's noted down here, customer success management, software as a service, contact center. He didn't mention call centers. Escalation management of call centers is another word that's it's in here in his section. Okay, but I would list in there. What are some of the accomplishments that you've had, Dan? He's got his contact information there. I would move that to the top of your about section. Make it easy for me to get hold of you. Nothing more frustrating as a recruiter to find a great resume or a great profile and have no way to get hold of somebody unless it's through somebody else, through connections.
Gotcha. Thanks.
He's got his featured section. He's got his resume there. He's got his customer success manager, a short bio of what he's looking at, his activity.
Locke, I wanted to ask you about that. I've heard some different opinions about having your resume posted in LinkedIn.
The only problem with posting your resume is it's kind of like a snapshot as opposed to a motion picture. By snapshot, it's a fixed point in time when you put your resume in there. And unless you go in and update it every week, it can get stale, not pass that freshness guarantee. It can also not be relevant to the job that you're applying for. So if you have a generic type resume, it might be, well, okay, Jeff, when he talks about resumes, and Jeff Morris does a presentation on resumes, and he says have a master resume and it may be 10 pages, and then you can edit it down to just 2 pages. That's not my philosophy. My philosophy is a little different. I say change the headline and add accomplishments under your summary is the best way to tailor a resume. So looks good. People are going to want to know, Dan, what you've been doing since last November. So I add a current position. And like I showed in the slide, you can have whether you're looking for a full-time position in customer success management and what type of industry you might have experience in, whether it's telecom automotive services, anybody that has a contact center. Intervoice was a seller of that type of equipment, call center type equipment, as I recall. Because I knew Dan.
Our systems, yep.
Yeah. So I would change that. He's got a double E degree from University of Illinois, which is great. His skills, again, I would go through and choose teamwork. I've not hired somebody for teamwork. I've not hired somebody for organizational skills. Okay. I would choose a couple of your other skills that are more germane, customer success management. Okay. Because recruiters don't search for teamwork. They look for people who are team players, but they don't search for teamwork as a key word. Likewise, organizational skills. Those are vitally important in some jobs, but that's not a search term. Computer.
Yeah, I missed those. Thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate it.
Okay, those are just a couple of quickies. We've had,
Yep.
he's got a couple of recommendations there. They're current, which is great. Okay. It's of interest. We've got time for one or two others. So we can either search for jobs or look at their profiles. Another volunteer.
You can look at mine if you want. Then it would be Patricia Bashy. I
Where
was
did
at
you
the
go?
I was at the top. Oh, there it is. Look, 255 mutual connections.
Yep. Okay. Background shot is okay and can convey a message. Mine, because I like to travel, mine is a cruise ship designation, so we've been at certain locations. Patty has used bullets to separate her titles. You can also use that pipe character that's above your enter key on your keyboard to shift.
Yeah, I changed it from the pipe to the bullet because Matt Keelan was telling me that when he exported that information, like the Chat GPT or the AI tool didn't like the pipes and it
Okay,
was putting it all in one string. So he's like, hey, change it to bullets.
good thought. I learn something new every day, so I may change mine. Okay. She's in the Phoenix area. We are directly connected, so I won't do that, but I'll show the contact information. Because even though I'm working with a candidate right now through one of my executive networking groups that I'm in, he doesn't have either his email address or a phone number. And he's concerned about having a current phone number. I suggested to him they get a Gmail or
Google Voice, which I
Google
put
Voice
in the
phone number
chat as well.
that you can
Yeah.
put in there. So that's connected. Okay. Open to work. She's got her contact information there where she can do it. She's got an achievement goal that she's got there. Okay. A particular company. She's featured some presentations by Walt Glass and by the pit crew. And Walt is one of the members of the pit crew, but he also does one-on-one consulting, which he tapes. Okay, activity is
That's
good.
when I was presenting Crystal Knows. And so his picture happened to be on there instead of mine.
Okay, she doesn't give a very big description of her current opportunity with, it's a seeking new employment. Okay, the only thing I could think of there is if there's a specific industry or industries that you're interested in, you might add those.
Okay.
It helps because recruiters take shortcuts, whether you believe it or not. That's why they would say 6 to 10 seconds. It makes it easy. Okay.
I didn't want to limit myself to a particular industry, but I can add that in.
Well, it's not limiting it. You can list more than one industry. So, but like I said, on the current position that where somebody's not working, I just chose financial services. But there are others that you can do. Okay. Good background, education at Thunderbird and Michigan State. Pretty good, decent school.
Well,
It's,
Michigan State was a development program. I actually went to Illinois State. So maybe I'll switch that around.
okay. You can should be able to drag and drop those. So
Yep.
in there. Okay. what I was looking at was your skills. Again, I mentioned that to some people, but again, to reorder your skills to the jobs that apply to the. She is also listed, she's taken certifications from LinkedIn, and LinkedIn now allows you to take some certifications that are good for a year. When you take the course, it's I don't know, what, 15 or 20-minute course that you have to go through, Patty, and then take a multiple choice test.
Some of them are longer than others. I mean,
Yeah,
the
okay.
one with the University of Georgia, that was like
No, the LinkedIn,
full
I'm talking
blown.
LinkedIn case.
Yeah, it depends. Some of them you've got to listen to an hour, hour and a half and take different courses or whatever. So,
She's also included her volunteer experience because she's hosting Career DFW now. I have my volunteer experiences actually included in my profile because that's how I wrote my profile before they had a separate section for volunteering. So either way is fine. Skills is business reviews and customer onboarding. I don't know
customer
what to,
onboarding is important for customer success roles.
okay. Then
So I will go ahead and change
You-
the business reviews out though.
you may know, I mean, what are the three, if you had to choose the three most important things in the job that you're looking for, those should be the skills that if you have them, that you list on the top. And again, by adding more things to it now, where she had that experience, it's usually limiting it to 2 skills that show up on the tab. It used to be 3 without the other thing in that you can do, but this allows me to endorse Patty, which I just did. We'll do that. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. We have time. We're just about out of time. If we wanted to look for somebody for a job, we haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Nobody wants to look for a job.
I do. Really bad.
Okay.
Miranda, go ahead.
Okay, job that you're looking for.
Graphic design, communications, and nonprofit.
Uh,
Remote.
Probably graphic design
Yeah.
communication is what you'd start with. Wow. It went to something else.
Yeah,
What?
went to a job board.
I think you have to go back to your LinkedIn tab there at the top. Yeah. So instead of
Okay.
career advisor, you can type in use a graphic design. Is a designer?
Yeah.
Graphic designer was the first pop-up block. You misspelled graphic.
I did. Okay, notice what it allows you to not volunteer, okay? So we're gonna do graphic designer, this one. And notice because I hadn't chosen anything here, okay, I have to go back in and do, was it Dallas, Fort Worth,
Chicago.
No,
Chicago?
Chicago, but preferably remote.
Or greater Chicago area or remote.
I mean, if someone wants to pay me to move to Bali, I'll go there.
Okay, notice that we have that, one thing that we have right now is that, but we're gonna go and look at all filters. Because I think Patty, Miranda, you were looking for
Nonprofit.
nonprofit, so I'm gonna. Okay.
That's not even part of the job type.
Well,
Remote. She wants remote.
okay. Let's look at that first and apply, and narrowed it down from 143 to 77. Okay. And then you can go, all filters, you can take another look at filters. I would, again, rather than any time I do past week, because graphic design, narrowed it down from 77 to 18. Again, this was because she's saying remote, some of the
Yep.
job not going to be located in Chicago. And by clicking on this one, this is the graphic design, this is a design position there. Go to the next one down for Velosio. If I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Then she'd have to figure out if any of these are
Yeah.
nonprofits.
You can go back and it's now reset. You can go to the reset for that. And you can look again and see if there's something that you might be able to type in type of work. Okay, because some of them were volunteer. Some of those are, again, nonprofit type jobs as well. Okay. I hope that helps, Miranda. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it, Patty, with you. We worked out some of the technical difficulties this month. And if anybody wants a slide deck, it's lockealderson@gmail.com. I'll be happy to send you the full deck, which also includes of how to locate people, some networking experience. And that's one of the things that Terry Sullivan includes in his more specifically. But this is designed specifically for identifying people and companies that you're interested in.
Great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to look through our profiles, as
Okay.
well as also showing us how you do a job search so that we know how better to use the all filters and narrow in on what we want to apply for. So we're going to take your suggestions to heart and make some changes today. So does anybody else have any questions?
And one of the things I will add, making the changes, if it doesn't seem to work, change it back to what it was. That's that refresh character that I mentioned to you.
If there aren't any other questions, please make sure to download the chat so that you have all the relevant information that was shared in here today. And I hope that you found it very helpful. Next week, I will have Kurt Vandemotter on as my presenter. So looking forward to seeing you same time, same place at 1 p.m. Central Time next Tuesday. So with that, I hope that everybody has a great week and looking forward to seeing you next Tuesday. All right. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye now.